Welcome to the Tales from the Pros podcast by Imaginovation. In the world of tech and business, it's easy to get caught up in the tools, tactics, and chasing revenue. But behind every breakthrough, there's always a deeper story, driven by people building with purpose and meaning. This show is for the founders, business leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs doing the hard work, navigating challenges, leading through change, and building things that matter. We're here to bridge the gap between technology and people through honest, raw storytelling in the world of innovation and without all the BS. Tales from the Pros. Real conversations, real growth. Hey everyone, welcome back to Tales from the Pros. I'm Michael Georgiou, co-founder at Imaginovation and your host, and I'm here with Eric, our co-host and our director of growth at Imaginovation. Today, we're joined by our Chief Product Officer, Mr. Zach Bruno, to talk about one of the hottest and trendiest topics in today's generation. It's kind of misunderstood, but it's a huge topic right now. Building products with AI. Everyone wants to do it, right? But we really need to understand the realities of it. So in this episode, we'll dive into the state of AI, product development today, the pros and cons, common myths, and where we think it's all headed. Zach, thanks for being here today, man. Appreciate it. And Eric, welcome again.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
always good to be here. We've been counting down the days to talk about AI.
Yeah. It's and every day we count down, it's just getting more. We're losing track of the progress. Things are changing on a daily basis at this point.
Yeah, man. The AI, the AI philosopher himself. You love philosophy. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of get right into it, guys. Yeah, Eric, go ahead, man. Yeah, let's kick it off.
Yeah, I wanted to start off, Zach, with a question for you. From your perspective as a chief product officer, what you feel the current state of building products with AI is right now? Because when you think about it, the big news is Model 5 has come out with ChatGPT. I know that there are a lot of tools that are out there when it comes to building tools with AI. So your perspective would be definitely interesting on what the current state is.
Yeah. So I think the best way to think about this is sort of in, like a three-legged chair, right? When you build product, there's, design, engineering, and product, and sort of like the overall business, right? So it's impacting all three legs of the chair. And the main part that everyone's talking about is sort of the engineering side, right? When is it going to replace coding and programming and engineering? I think what is more interesting is how it's supplementing design, product, and delivering just overall business outcomes. So, we'll get into that a little bit more, but I think the overall state is that it's impacting everything. And obviously the biggest talk is engineering. And right now, in my opinion, the biggest use for AI is the augmentation of ideas, not necessarily the augmentation of execution.
Zach, do you know, is there any well-known products that are out there that's been vibe coded or built with AI that people are aware of?
Yeah, look, I think this whole hype around I'm going to build a $1 billion vibe coded company is sort of getting blown out of proportion, right? And so in my view, vibe coding in its current state, as far as like tools like with like Lovable and stuff, like I'm not even considering those, but for tools like Lovable and like I'm like just does everything for you in a prompt, those are good for maybe like validating simple little products. By no means good for scale. What vibe coding really is using tools like Claude Code and agents that sit alongside you as you're coding, as you're an engineer, for engineers, sorry. And that's where the true power is. And for that, there's a lot of benefits to it. Besides the number one thing kind of being like workload reduction, right? A lot less tedious work is being done from the engineering side. It kind of frees up the engineers to think more about the overall solution and creating the best product. But as far as like major large platforms that have been vibe coded from scratch, who knows, right? But I think everybody is sort of vibe coding parts of their product at this point.
Interesting. Yeah, and for people that are out there, it might be helpful for them to understand, sometimes the difference between an app that's vibe coded and an app that's actually been built from the ground up, and what are kind of like the pros and cons of it. Because there are a lot of times where I'm speaking with somebody and they have an idea and they want to bring their idea to the market. They want to have a product built. And I know a lot of times, budget, timeline, where they are in the process is important. But for you, when you're assessing, should a product be built from the ground up and coded out manually, or should it be thrown into a tool like Lovable to be built out? What sort of considerations are you making?
I think I'm going to refer to this line that probably several times throughout this episode here, but if you're not an engineer, vibe coding and AI will make you much more powerful. But if you are an engineer, you're going to be unstoppable because engineers are still thinking in terms of engineering solutions, right? So when somebody says, okay, I'm a solo founder, I have no coding experience, I've never built a product before, and they think it's feasible to vibe code a product all by themselves without learning anything about programming and how things work, they're going to have a hard time. And so it's sort of still in that state where it's like sort of a pipe dream, right? And it's a good promise. I think it's definitely roping a lot of people in, but you still need experienced product people to build your products at the end of the day. Like I said, though, no doubt, an inexperienced founder has a much larger leg up than they did before. They have a chance to scaffold an MVP potentially, or something maybe a little bit worse than MVP, just to validate the product and the idea. But by no means would I consider it ready to grow a full scale company yet at this stage.
I also wonder, just as like when you consider the freelance marketplace, where somebody's looking to find a freelance developer to help them build what their vision is, if that's going to be a kind of like a thing to watch out for, where a freelancer would charge money and basically vibe code it when that's not necessarily what the person wants, or maybe the person doesn't even think to ask, how are you building this?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah, that's a good point.
all this code being generated versus somebody handcrafting it. Essentially, that's definitely a big topic for debate over what's right and what's wrong. I'm not sure that it's wise to come to a consensus yet on that. I don't know if there's any ethical concerns around like a human did this versus AI did this, right? But in my view, as long as you're solving the outcome, the business outcomes, and providing value to the end users, at this stage, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah. So I think when we're talking about AI, it can do so much right now. And I think we're still in very much the infancy stage, but I am interested to know where do you feel like it's coming up short when it comes to building products?
Yeah, like I said, I think one of the big problems it has right now that if you've used it, you've experienced, is that it has a tendency to kind of go off on tangents and build the wrong thing, no matter how much context you give it. And so I think it's very bad at contextualizing the goal you're trying to accomplish with actual execution. So going back to what I said in the beginning as well, AI is a much more powerful synthesizer of ideas than it is an execution tool at this point. So if you ever try to execute with AI, you'll find that it does a lot of things you don't want it to do. And that is the main difficulty and challenge anybody trying it will run into.
And are there any risks
Yeah.
that people should consider if they want to go down the path of building with AI?
Yeah, I wouldn't say risk as much as, understanding your business goals and making sure that it can deliver on that. So for example, if you're building an insurance platform, healthcare platform, knowing the regulations and compliance around that, because it's not going to take that into consideration at all, even if you tell it. So just making sure you have sort of the legal things around it squared away. Other than that, it's capable of delivering what you need, but not executing on it, if that makes sense. It understands things, but it can't actually do it yet.
Makes sense. There is one thing I want to go back to that you said, where you mentioned there are like aspects, there are pieces of applications that could be built with AI. I'm interested in exploring that topic a little bit more, because in a lot of ways, I feel that people can view it as like all or nothing. You either build the full application with AI or you just don't. But could you talk a little bit more about like maybe compartmentalizing it and building pieces with AI and how that can be advantageous?
Great question. So exactly, there's sort of this false dichotomy that you're either building AI or building products with full AI, or you're not, and everything's hand coded, hand custom made from scratch. And like you said, the reality is building parts of the application and the product with AI is much more powerful because it's much better at taking small context and making small tweaks, right? So for example, let's just say you have an app and you found a bug, okay? And you need help finding, for one, triaging the bug, which means finding what the root cause is, but then also fixing it. AI is very good at finding the issue because it's very good at reasoning and logic and thinking, and then going out and executing the code, the changes to fix the bug. And because it's such a small subset of the overall code base, it's very good at doing that at this stage. Tomorrow, it could be capable of updating the entire code base at once and making sure that it's 100% polished. But as of right now, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No.
yeah. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No. Good. Good.
So basically, that's one example with the bug fixing, but even small feature sets, small enhancements, tweaks, it's very capable of doing. And using that to incrementally build your entire product works better than trying to one-shot your product with a single prompt or something like that, right? Which is the promise that you hear kind of going around at the moment.
And like Zach, like, what do you think, man? Like for just companies in general that want to use AI, or they maybe have already incorporated AI somehow in their operations, in their products, or whatever it might be, right? Because there's many different use cases for integrating AI into your business, right? It's not only just a couple, right? It's like thousands of different ways. It's so powerful, but it's still like very, very early. I feel like we're like in kind of it's a little bit in the kind of the cowboy ages of AI. It's still like so early. We don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty with like the future and what's going to happen with it and everything. But just kind of like in terms of, the way companies are using it now, how do you balance like the wow factor of AI with, practical realities of cost, timelines, maintenance, support, just kind of how do you balance that? And you can even speak on like the project level, even just from your experience.
Yeah. So the way you have to break down the applications and use of AI in a company, in a business, are in two ways. You can either use it to create more customer value to the end user, in that you add an AI related feature or something where that's AI powered, right? The other option is use AI to internalize, operationalize your internal workflows and make your company more efficient, which obviously in turn benefits the end customer as well, but it also saves costs and things of that nature. So there's sort of the external and the internal component. So where AI is we're sort of right now, right? The promise is like you can use AI, make an AI powered product and get it up to market very quickly and provide a lot more value to their customers. But where I think the most underrated part of AI, where it's being most underutilized, is internally. Using AI to operationalize and smooth over operations and make things more efficient and streamline things. That is the biggest opportunity in my view, with tools like N8N that are coming out, and workflow, Lindy.ai workflow operation tools. These are going to be very powerful for repetitive tasks and things that you can automate out that nobody wants to do, essentially, right? And even for things like creative work, I don't think it's at that stage yet, but like automating content creation, generating videos for marketing, and having it automatically published to social media, that's right around the corner. And I think that's going to be a very powerful thing for all businesses to consider. Now, talking at like the execution level, as far as building software, building products, where it's most useful in projects is using it to align your team and the ideas. Again, back to this whole concept of idea synthesis, using it to align on the direction of the product, even like creating documentation where for, years ago it would have been tedious. Now it's instant, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's good so it's good at synthesizing the ideas and the direction you're trying to go and putting it into a very concise and readable format.
No, that's cool, man. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that explains a lot. I want to touch on something like, spoke about it a little bit earlier, just some of the, call it, just like misconceptions even of AI, right? Like just like how people are perceiving it now, right? It's like there's, they think like, especially with some startups, even we can call them dreamers, people who want to start, something, whether they have funding or not, or, that's a whole different conversation. But basically just like people that think they can just build a full business with AI, and maybe we'll get some, arguments from this episode. I'm sure some people are like, oh, I've used NAN, which I've used before as well, to create like my whole agentic bot to do this whole thing. But it's like when you go and try it yourself and you do it, you're like, man, there's a lot of things that are still broken. It's still very early, right? And that's fine. It's a process. But I still think that there are a lot of misconceptions that it's not gonna just run your entire freaking life. But right now, I think the human element is still needs to be heavily involved right now. Don't you agree?
Mm, yeah, I totally agree. The promise, another promise, which I agree with, it's coming, right? Like the big promise is like there's going to be more solo companies in the next 10 years probably than ever, because it's empowering people to do a lot more with a lot less. And so, and also like AI is the worst it's ever going to be right now, right? It's only going to get better. So
Right.
whatever it's saying right now is going to be obsolete in a week from now. So that's the whole power of it, is that we don't really know where it's going, but we know that it's going to enable people to do a lot more. But right now, it's not what it's all made out to be, I would say.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
one thing that I'm curious about, just looking at the next 5 years as it relates to AI, I think the past couple years, it's been kind of like a gold rush, where just speaking with a lot of people, they want to build their own product. They want to advertise that it is AI. It's like the thing, right? But I've just been noticing a general pushback as far as like people viewing AI in general, especially in creative spaces. We see a lot of mention of people just saying like, "Hey, that's AI slop. I don't want AI creating
Mm,
images or music or that sort of thing." And I think when you start to think about it as like a way to generate ideas, I feel people are also recognizing there's serious cognitive decline out of users who rely on AI to kind of think for them. So I do wonder, as we get further and further, if companies are going to want to promote the fact that they use AI quite as much, if it's viewed negatively by the masses.
It's a great point. It's- mm, Like Mike said, the human element is very important, especially in the creative spaces, like you said, like art, making movies, music. I think for a long time, people are going to be skeptical of anything AI generated. Um, they want to know that it came from a place of a human connection, human story, human emotion.
mhm.
And even it, people pick up on it, even if you don't even say it was made with AI. Like it's almost obvious at this point, right? So I think where people are getting lost as well is on the business side, more technically. They think just because they throw AI in there as a buzzword to their end product, whatever it is, they think that that means it's good. The problem is if you're not delivering customer value and delivering on a real result, it's just a buzzword.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, it's used everywhere, man. It's I think it's important for for people out there to know, just not just like on the tech side of things, but just like AI in general. It's important, I think, that all of us use it with kind of good intentions, the right motive, right? Whether that's to help someone start a business, or create a piece of software or integration, or even just create an idea or a document. It's good to have to kind of do it with a purpose, and some sort of a plan, knowing that that can change. And I think that's where the human element comes into play, whether we're building a product, Zach, or whatever it might be. So it's like doing it with intention, doing it with like a purpose, like you said, right? Having that like emotional, kind of, yeah, that kind of emotional effect to it. I think it's going to make AI a lot more powerful than just using it as a buzzword, or even just saying, "Hey, I need to integrate AI into my product," and you'll be like, "But do you need to?"
Exactly. The key here is I think like AI augmentation is more powerful than being replaced, right? So it's going to be a more
Yeah.
powerful augmenter than it is going to be a replacement and an automator. So I think things built with humans or by humans with AI is better than by humans and by AI, right?
Mm,
We want humans to be the people building it with AI supplementing the craft.
Nice. And actually, on the topic
yeah, I
of
love that.
augmentation, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Magic Task. You're looking to augment how you're doing your task management and how efficient you're being throughout the day. Magic Task is a tool that we use every day within our own workflows to be able to keep track of what we need to get done, to assign tasks to other team members, whether it's at work or just in life. The idea is that Magic Task is a simplified and gamified task management system. So you can check it out for free at magictask.
Yeah, and thanks Eric for shouting out that product. And actually, Zach is a chief product officer of Magic Task as well. So kind of one of the visionaries of the product. I know there's a lot of plans to integrate or however we're going to do it, but to basically add AI into the product, kind of intentionally to make sure that the outcome is very valuable. The value is there for the end user, right? Kind of
Exactly.
goes back to like what we were talking about before. So like Zach, so like, just with your experience, man, with just all this buzz and just all this talk about AI and we're hearing it so much and it's just everywhere. Where do you think, like looking ahead, what do you think excites you more about artificial intelligence and where it's headed for product development, for even the space of software development? Like, where do you think it's kind of going?
So I think all the promises that are being made will be delivered on. I think that they're being promised now. It's exciting. It's insightful. It's exciting stuff to look forward to, right? It's not there yet, like I said, but it's coming. And that is obviously the thing I'm most excited for. I would love a future, and might be contrary to what people think, but I would love a future where it executes most of the stuff that people don't want to do. So we're free to do the things that we want to do. And so, but then that kind of getting a little philosophical, I guess, that brings in the whole idea behind, AI rights and how does that play into the future? Do we need to sort of have the civil rights movement of AI in the future? Because we don't want to have them just doing everything in the world, right? And so, yeah, do they deserve freedoms and all this stuff? So we won't go down that rabbit hole, but it raises questions.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy, man. Actually, I was talking with my wife about this yesterday. She works at MetLife, and MetLife is actually they're integrating what is it, Copilot into their entire infrastructure. So now, like not now, but soon, they can start using Copilot within like basically, analyzing documentation. They're doing it very carefully. Obviously, there's a lot of security risk and everything when you're reading and analyzing medical claims, insurance claims and stuff. I mean, you need to make sure it's like you're doing it correctly. Otherwise, you can screw up someone's ability to get insured, if they have cancer or they broke their leg or they have Alzheimer's, whatever it is. But basically, yeah, man, it's crazy how a lot of these businesses they're kind of integrating AI into their ops, their software, and everything like that. And one thing I was like thinking about, and I want to get your thoughts on. Can you imagine a world where, with the way like how rapid AI is going right now, how quickly it is, and you mentioned it earlier, right? Like you said that today is the worst AI that exists because it gets like what X better every week or something like that. I don't know, but don't quote me on that. But nonetheless, it's getting better every single day, every week. So do you think that there'll be like a world where people are kind of swaying away from it? They're like afraid of it. Maybe like older generation, they're just like, they don't want to, for us, for example, if we're going to develop a piece of software, they say, I want you guys to develop it. I don't want AI. Do you see that even like happening, or you think, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there could definitely be a sort of counterculture movement,
Yeah. Yep.
like the 90s or something, where people are like, even young people would be like, no, like we're the creative people. We want to do this ourselves, right? We don't want to use AI. We're resisting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be some sort of resistance. Then again, though, like this assumes and implies that there's going to be some cataclysmic event that happens overnight. The problem with that argument is like most things are gradual, so you don't really see them coming, right? So AI will start being integrated in our lives
Yeah.
more and more without us even realizing it. So for there to be a resistance would have to start in tandem. It's not like, oh, this thing happened, so now we're resisting. And it's like 10 years of resistance,
Mhm.
right? So we'll see. I don't know. Because technology is incremental and iterative, I feel like it will be less resisted than other things throughout our history, but only time will tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I foresee there being at least some pushback and some people trying to stray away from it. Not for the Zach, like you're saying, doing things that make your life easier, but I think in particular, just with the thinking aspect of it, where what I've been noticing is like even out of my own wife just the other day, she was reading something to me that she posted, and I was like, "Was that Chat GPT?" And she was offended. She's like, "No," and I'm like, "Well, it sounded like it. So I think you've been talking to it so much, you're picking up on its mannerisms. And I think that's the main thing is like for when you look at human history, not to get too philosophical, there are people that kind of redefine the way that we view things. Salvador Dali. Like, are we going to get thinkers that stand out in that way if they've grown up their whole life talking to Chat GPT and basically having their own mannerisms be molded around the models?
Exactly. Yeah. It goes back to this augmentation thing, right? As we become more and more augmented with the AI, we merge, we become closer to being one being. You will hardly be able to tell the difference. And so
Mm.
that also leaves less room for resistance because we don't know if we don't even realize we're integrated. We already, and in some ways we already are, right? Pretty much everybody at this stage of history is dependent on technology.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a really like yeah, man, it's a really interesting topic. Yeah, it's I mean, I think like, Eric, you and I were talking about this yesterday, right? With AI, it's like some people are driven by fear. Some people can be driven by fear and just uncertainty of what is going to happen with it, where it's going to take us. Um, or we can look at it in a different narrative, right? Or we can change the narrative in a sense where we look at it as positive, as opportunistic, where it's going to really allow us to create new jobs potentially. Yeah, there's going to be drawbacks. And you talked about that. I mean, there could be. It's already taken some jobs, and I mean that's part of evolution in technology and in the world. Anyways, there's always going to be like good, bad, and the ugly, right? That's kind of part of the world evolving, But I think the key is for us to adapt, and just keep improving ourselves and the way we do things, but do it in in a way, at least in my opinion, in a way that is like it still makes us it keeps us human and it keeps us empathetic and compassionate because all of those different characteristics allow us to be our best selves even when developing a software product, because it's about intention, it's about doing things the right way. And if we use AI as a tool, right, or a better way to make things more efficient and effective, then why the hell not?
Exactly. It's like using a calculator. Nobody second guesses using a calculator, right? So I'm not going to second guess using AI in the future when I'm building something. No,
Yeah, man. Yeah. So it seems like you're very excited. You're more like you're not it doesn't seem like you are more fear driven with it in terms of where things are, where they're headed, or you do kind of have some fear, more opportunistic.
definitely more optimistic. I think it's going to create more good than bad. I think the future with people, like I said, sort of it taking and doing the things that nobody wants to do, and then allowing people to do the things that make us more and more creative and more human. And then while also helping us do it. But yeah, so I'm optimistic for the future. There's a future, most people talk about AI taking over, the big risk around that. And what I sort of say to that, and actually Pete, our co-founder, got me into this idea. I kind of came up with the idea on my own, and he was like, "Oh, this has already been talked about." Is the gray goo versus the blue goo?
Mm.
So the gray goo and blue goo is basically like, okay, if everything's getting worse and being taken over, then in theory, civilization is probably increasing and getting better over time. So the 51% who's actually doing good would also be equally as powerful as the people doing bad. So wouldn't we have something that would counteract the bad, that would, outweigh the bad and eventually move us forward? So it's this whole idea of, do you believe that civilization is, from the dawn of civilization, we're ticking downward? So there's 51% bad, 49% good. Or do you believe we're 51% good, 49% bad, and we're ticking upward? Because we always come up with measures for prevention, and we can't even comprehend what that would be in a cataclysmic AI event. But it's safe to assume that if you believe we're growing, which I do, as a civilization, then you believe that we'll have measures in place to not allow an AI to take over.
Yeah. To play devil's advocate, I would say that the growth has been nonlinear. There's certainly been some awful times in humanity, and I think I can't tell you the exact time. It was somewhere between like 400 to 600 uh, AD. That there was some point in time where there was like some massive famine and awful things that happened. So it's
Hmm.
nonlinear in a ways. So hopefully, at the point where we aren't ticking up, it's not cataclysmic.
Exactly. It's really more of like on balance, we solve the problems and we move forward, right? So,
Yeah.
like you said, we'll be going up, we'll plummet, and then we'll come back up, and it should be more than the last peak in theory.
Yeah, if you think about it, nothing's really linear, right? I mean, what is linear? Yeah, I mean, some people might argue that. I mean, I'm sure there are things, but I mean, mostly if you notice, even just with building, well, related to our space, right? Even like helping to build a software product, it's like this, right? Even just going through it, it's a journey. And you have different tools to help you. AI is going to be really one of them. It's an amazing tool to help, and it's going to continue to improve and evolve and enhance sporadically, rapidly. But yeah, it's never going to be linear. And I think that's just something everyone accepts, and we just use it to the best of our ability. But yeah, I agree, Zach. I think that's a great point, man. Like, I like how you talked about like just how it could be used to help us prevent things that maybe us humans might be miss completely, just ignorance or whatever it might be. We might just completely miss it, or we may not even have the intelligence to prevent something. But AI is like so powerful, right? It can help to prevent things for good, to help us to be better in a
Exactly.
sense, you know?
Yep. It's, whatever fence you're on, if you believe humanity's progressing, not falling backwards, then you should believe accordingly that if the good actors and the bad actors are equally powerful with AI, the good actors will win,
That.
even if the bad actors get their hands on it.
Yeah. So Zach, to kind of
Yeah.
close things out, just a final question here. If for our listeners, if there's somebody that's looking into, evaluating for their own system, or maybe they're looking to build something from the ground up, what should be the next step if they're thinking about AI? What should they consider when approaching this topic?
I think the most important thing to focus on, and I've said this before, is customer value. So whether you have a technical background, whether you do or don't, delivering value to the end customer is all that matters. So the product needs to solve a problem really well, whether it has AI or not. And if AI enhances that or enhances an internal operation, great. That's its best use case, right? Typical things that would be in a product 5 years ago could be made infinitely better now with AI, right? So I think just understanding the end customer value and working backwards from there, making sure that it's delivering real results, solving a real problem, and not just forcing it into the product.
Yeah, that's a good way to kind of conclude it. Yeah, Zach, awesome, man. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Well, it won't be the last time we'll have you on here. We'll definitely have some really cool topics to kind of discuss and just have good deep conversations. I think it's good to even if we get a little philosophical, that's okay. I mean, we all love that. I think it's all, everything's connected. It's never just everything's connected, man. Just like all of us, we all have something that we're kind of connected to, as
100%.
people. So yeah, man, it's no different. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you, Zach. Eric, thanks as always. Everyone, thank you so much. We appreciate you listening, and we hope that you find value from this content. And again, your host, Michael Georgiou from Tales from the Pros, here with Zach Bruno, our CPO, and Eric Lawrence, our everything else, I guess. Eric, appreciate it, man. Thanks, guys. Until next time.
Thanks, guys.
All right, fellas. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Please subscribe to our YouTube page and also follow our social media. There are links somewhere around here. But we really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all the support. And I'm going to be giving you awesome content continuously. And we look forward to seeing you soon.